Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. My name is Sergio Arispe, and I'm the National Chair for the Teaching and Educational Technologies Committee for our association. And I'm going to be discussing with Colt video production and how to maximize extension program impact. Colt?
Right, my name's Colt Knight. I'm with the University of Maine, and I'm the Northeast Chair of the TET Committee. And we've put together a 20-minute video here to show you all about different technology you can use to record educational videos. My personal style of educational video is I'm trying to mimic more of what folks on YouTube are doing. So I think you'll find it a little bit different approach than a traditional educational video. So let's kind of go ahead and kick this pig and get started.
Excellent. And I see that we are recording. So for all of you, if you have any questions, please put in any comments in the chat box. Scott is recording this, so please do that, Scott. And we're going to go ahead and show a video. And we're going to open it up for questions afterwards for more specifics related to video production, equipment, and how-to, and even models. So once again, please use the chat box. We'll be monitoring that. And if there's a question that really stands out, we can possibly pause it depending on that question, or we'll respond to that after the video concludes. So thank you very much.
Yeah, and just to note, we will have a equipment list with a price list associated that we can share at the end as well. Sergio, is that playing correctly?
It is. I hear it on my end.
And you can see it?
I can see it and I can hear it. You got it.
Okay, well then we're gonna proceed. All right, so you decided you wanted to make an extension video, but you don't know where to start. Which camera do you buy? Which accessories do you need? Is certain software better than others? And more importantly, how much is this going to cost me? Well, today we're going to try to answer that with some of our hard-fought experience that we learned in the trenches. So, everyone has a different opinion. These happen to be mine. Since I started learning how to create educational videos a year or so ago, a lot of my colleagues have asked me, hey, what camera do I buy? And that's not an easy question because it largely depends on your budget and what quality video you want to produce. Most of us have a pretty high quality video camera in our pocket in the form of a cell phone. However, cell phones have a lot of limitations. There are compact video cameras that are made specifically for content creators on social media like YouTube. And then there are professional cameras that create extremely high quality 4K video. And then we have stuff in between, like this older APS-C still photography camera that also happens to take high quality video. But which one should you buy? Let's break it down. There are definitely a couple factors to consider when purchasing a new camera. One is affordability and the other is capability. But what is often overlooked is the audio quality of your video. So whatever you buy, make sure that you have the capability to use a high quality microphone. What makes a good quality camera? Well, one is the sensor. So a cell phone has a relatively small sensor compared to a high quality professional camera that has a full frame sensor. And then from there we have crop sensors in the form of APS-C cameras and then compact cameras like I'm using to record this video clip. More expensive cameras have the capability to control individual features that adjust the exposure of the frame, like shutter speed, aperture, and ISO. So cell phones are extremely limited in this, whereas professional cameras, you can micromanage each one of these features to give you an even higher quality image. However, a lot of us extension folks are not full-time photographers or videographers, and we just want something that's point and shoot that has auto capabilities. Some cameras are built specifically for those folks that don't know how to use all those fancy features, like the one I'm shooting on now. So what I'm going to do now is show you the difference between a cell phone camera, which we're using right now, and then a compact camera, which is specifically designed for content creators on social media. And then I'm going to use my personal older APS-C DSLR camera, and then finally an expensive modern mirrorless camera that all the cool kids are using to record YouTube videos these days. And hopefully you can tell a difference. This is my compact camera that was designed specifically for content creators on social media. A couple features that I really like about this camera. One, the screen flips out so that I can see myself while I'm recording. Two, it has a tally light. That's a light on the front of the camera that tells me that it's actually recording, so I don't have to go through my whole spiel and then realize I forgot to push the record button. And three, the autofocus capabilities on this camera are phenomenal. If you watch, I can just kind of dip in and out and forward and backwards and over here. And this thing never loses focus. This is my DSLR APS-C camera. And what DSLR stands for is it works like an old film camera did. Light comes in through the lens, a shutter opens and allows the light to reflect off a mirror, and then that mirror reflects the information onto the sensor. This is my modern mirrorless camera. This is the one that all the cool kids on YouTube are using. The advantage to using equipment that all the cool kids are using is that you have a ton of video tutorials on YouTube that you can access to help you unlock the multitude of features available for this camera. But I think you can see just how clear and sharp this camera is able to record, and the autofocus works extremely well on this camera as well. I really like to use this camera whenever I've got a tripod handy because the image quality is superior. The downside to this camera is it's a lot larger and heavier, and the equipment bag is much bigger to lug around all the stuff that I need for it. So let's take a second to discuss lenses. I'm using the compact camera right now that does not have interchangeable lenses. That is both a plus and a minus. The negative side is you have a limited zoom range. The plus side is it's very small and compact, and you don't have to deal with lugging around all these heavy and expensive lenses in your camera kit. So when you look at lenses, you'll see that they have a few different numbers and things written on them. That 17 to 28 millimeters is the zoom range. So 17 is pretty wide, so you can see a lot of the shot, and it will zoom to 28 millimeters. And then it says f2.8. That is the aperture, often referred to as the f-stop. The aperture is going to control both the depth of field and the amount of light the lens allows into the camera sensor. And using the depth of field, we can manipulate how the viewers view our image. I'm recording this video at 17 millimeters. I'm recording this video at 28 millimeters. I'm recording this video at 50 millimeters. I'm recording this video at 75 millimeters. I'm recording this video at 180 millimeters. Telephoto lenses are a great way to get in close on your speaking subject without appearing creepy or overbearing. Wider angle lenses work great if you want to get a large part of the landscape. However, they don't do so great at recording people, especially when they get close. They begin to look distorted and unnatural. You may have noticed that on some of these scenes, the background is in focus, and in some of these scenes, the background appears blurry, and it looks way more cinematic. And that's because of the depth of field. With a longer lens, it's easier to get this shallower depth of field and really isolate your subject. Now let's depart from video quality and start talking about an often overlooked aspect of video production, which is audio quality. Most cameras have terrible built-in audio. They may work when they're up close and personal, you know, if you're taking a selfie view like I'm doing now or with a cell phone, they work pretty good. But when you're doing like an educational or extension video and you're out in the field, it's going to pick up 360 degrees of noise. So you get the wind blowing, you get the bag rustling, you get your footsteps crunching on the ground, you get your clothes going back and forth, and it really sounds cluttered and terrible. And the way you get around that is you use external audio. And so I have several examples here, both expensive and inexpensive. This is what you call a shotgun mic. This only picks up sound in the direction you point the mic. This one has a built-in windscreen. This is a less expensive one. And then we have the Lavalier or Lapel Mics. This is an inexpensive lapel mic, and it has a windscreen that you can put directly on this, and you can clip this to your clothes, or you can add the lapel mic. And then I have the really expensive lapel mic, and these do a great job of isolating your subject. This is being recorded with the in-camera audio. You may notice that the volume is not quite as loud. Now, next we're going to switch to the shotgun mic that's got this beautiful windsock over it, and I think you'll really hear the difference. I've now equipped the camera with the shotgun microphone, and I hope you can hear the difference. So how does a shotgun mic perform in a windy situation? So you'll be able to see in this video that I recorded for my AVS 145 class just how windy it is, but how clearly you can hear Mr. Cookson.
Well, we do it's mainly black and red Angus. We do a grass-fed operation with no grain whatsoever.
But how about that lapel mic? How does it do out in the real world if it's a little bit windy? It's not as windy as it was at Mr. Cookson's place, but there's an entire class behind the fence talking and mumbling, and then we've got the pig noise as well. Money? How about... yeah, there we go. Belly rubs. Belly rubs. And I think you can hear from the background noise that the bystanders are very faint. The noises that the pig makes is very quiet. If this was the shotgun mic, you would hear mostly pig noises and not so much my voice. So this works excellent for isolating the speakers. So there are a lot of different ways you can go with tripods. So my compact camera came with this really cool handheld option. This makes this very easy to tote around and set up on objects. But the cool thing about this is you can pick it up and use it as a selfie stick or a handle. It has the record and zoom features. You can take a quick snapshot photo with it. So this is really handy. Also, you can, at the push of a button, you can rotate this thing around. We have a still photography tripod. And I'll be honest with you, doing extension videos, these things are kind of dangerous. They're lightweight so that you can go hiking on a mountain without it overburdening you. But when you're out in the field doing extension videos and stuff, it's really flimsy. And I've actually had the wind blow over an expensive camera, so I don't like those. The other thing about this is it's not made to do panning or zooming shots. Whereas this video tripod, you can see how much more stoutly it's made, actually has what's called a fluid head. And so it will smoothly rotate left and right and pan up and down. So there's a big price jump now. You go from these nice lightweight photo tripods for $100 to an actual videography tripod for $400 or $500. So that's a big deal. The other thing, and I wish I had it set up right now, this is called a gimbal. And what a gimbal is a gyroscope for your camera. You put your camera on there, you balance it out, and then you can do like these walking zoom shots like I'm doing right now, or panning shots. But it takes out all of the vibration and the jerkiness. Super handy. It also has a toggle switch that will pan left, right, up and down for you, so you don't have to move to do it. These are an expensive option, but if you're going to shoot handheld, I think they are a great option. The other thing that they're really good at doing is shooting B-roll in slow motion. Isn't that right, Layla? Isn't that right, Layla? Gotta have good tripods, don't we know? So I hope this helps you decide which camera will work best for you, and what audio setup would work best for you, and as well as tripods. And folks always ask me, what setup do I have and use the most? And I have two. I have the Sony ZV-1 compact camera with they call it the vlogger kit, so it comes with the stand and the shotgun mic, and then plus I bought these wireless Go Rode microphones, so I'd have a lapel mic for it. And then I have the Sony A7 III, which is what I use to capture the highest quality audio and video. Whenever I have a choice, I really like to use this setup, and whenever I'm on the go and I'm just looking to grab something real quick, I use this setup. And the reason for that is I can keep everything I need for this camera in this camera bag. This camera, I need this big honking camera bag. But this contains all the cables, extra lenses, you can put a laptop computer, so on and so forth in there. I hope that helps you. What accessories do you need to keep in your camera bag? Batteries. I don't care how long the battery lasts in your camera, buy 3 extra. My wireless lapel mics take AA, so I've got a package of AA's. Always buy extra SD cards and keep those in your camera bag, because you will forget to take the SD card out of your computer and put it back in your camera, and you'll get to the field and realize, oh, I need an SD card. So always keep a couple extra in your bag. Make sure that the SD card capabilities match your camera capabilities. That's an issue. If you're going to shoot high definition video or 4K video, you need one of these fast card readers to put on your computer. The first time I recorded 4K video, I went to upload the videos to my computer and realized with my old card reader it was going to take like 6 hours. So I had to buy this fast card reader. This does it in 20 seconds instead of hours. And I have an external hard drive, and I've got a battery charger and all the cables that I would need to hook up whatever I would need, along with extra lenses and cleaning kits to make sure that I can keep everything in good working order.
In a few short minutes, I'm hoping that you'll be able to recognize the advantages and disadvantages of filming accessories. Next, recall video editing software. And finally, outline your video production model, whether that's for an individual or for a collaborative. A camera cage is an accessory for extension professionals who will be responsible for filming. You secure your camera within the cage, secure the cage to a strong and firm tripod, and then attach all the accessories to the cage. The advantages of this is that it secures all the accessories needed for high quality audio and visual. Next, you can move the camera and maintain all of the accessories on the cage. Disadvantages. It takes time to learn a system that is the most efficient and reasonable for you. A secure setup and testing can take a solid 15 minutes. Overall, if you have a great space to film and can keep this setup intact, I'd recommend keeping your setup semi-permanent. A teleprompter is a great accessory to keep you on track and consistent with a script. If you want to create peer-reviewed extension videos, ensure you stay on point. As the reviewers expect, the teleprompter is a great asset. Get a teleprompter app on your tablet, put in your script, and situate your camera in your teleprompter. The camera shoots video through the glass pane, and viewers won't have any idea that you're reading from a script. The advantages of a teleprompter are that it equips you to stay on script with peer-reviewed materials. Next, it may minimize overall time producing a video by keeping you on point. Disadvantages: you must adjust the script size and speed so you speak at a reasonable pace. Next, the content expert must practice to get a conversation voice. Now that you have all your video and audio clips, as well as images, it is time to import everything into a video production software. Here are some examples of software that you can use in order to edit video. Finally, take time to think through your video production model. Are you going to be your own one-stop shop? Will you get audio-visual data and send it to someone who has video production capacity? Or will you and your colleague work with a video production professional who will develop the product? At some universities, you can be written onto grants and receive funds if you have video production capacity for your programming. At that point, your student and equipment capacity can be endless. I hope you thoroughly enjoy your journey as you learn to maximize extension impact through video production. Excellent. Now, what we're going to do now is go into the question and answer session. And I've been jotting some questions down here, Colt. Some of our participants have been asking great questions. So one of the questions had to do with what software did we use for this video production?
On my section of the video, I produce mine in Camtasia. Most of the video editing softwares all pretty much work the same. Just so you know, there's like a timeline, you drag clips and audio and stuff, and you're able to cut it up and things. I use Camtasia because I was familiar with Camtasia for just narrating over PowerPoints. Camtasia integrates with PowerPoint really well. And so I naturally just learned how to use Camtasia to edit video. I would like to get better at using Adobe Premiere, because Adobe Premiere will sync multiple clips based on the audio. When I do that in Camtasia, I actually have to look at the audio sound waves and line up the peaks of the sound waves. So that's kind of annoying. And Camtasia is not super powerful. It will not process 4K video. And when you start layering on multiple clips, it starts bogging down and getting slow. So in the future, I'll probably lean more towards Adobe Premiere. But I think for basic video stuff, Camtasia works great.
Yeah, and I really support what you're saying here, Colt. And one of the questions wants us to go a little bit more in depth in software. And what I'm going to say is, I would highly encourage those of you interested in being the video production kind of expert and providing that capacity to start with something that's somewhat basic. What you're going to learn is that the formatting for a lot of these software, you're going to have your timeline, you're going to have your media bin. The layout's going to be consistent. Now, a lot of these software programs, and specifically, iMovie, Project Director, Camtasia, there are some great online resources that can walk you step by step on how to use them. Now, what I would say is to become proficient in Camtasia, if you watch a good 10 hours of that video, nearly one workday, you're going to be able at the end of the day have a really good sense on how to put together a pretty good video. Now, if you want to step up beyond iMovie or Project Director or Camtasia and go up to Final Cut Pro, go to Adobe Premiere Pro, like Colt pointed out. Once again, I would only recommend that if you have a basis in video production at a simpler, with a simpler program. Going into those, you're going to need to spend at least about 120 hours reviewing videos specific to that software. And it's a fairly steep learning curve to really harness the potential of that software. So that's, I guess, my input. Do you have anything else to add to that, Colt?
No, I think that's a great idea to start with simpler software. It's one of those things when my biggest hurdle making extension videos, you know, I bought all this expensive equipment and then I put it on the back burner for a long time because didn't want to learn how to edit video, and I sat down and made myself do it. And, you know, the first video was really plain. And then every time I make a video, I try to use a different feature or incorporate different techniques. So I'm always learning when I make a new video. And when I look at my old videos versus my new ones, I've come a long way. And now I can put together a video pretty quickly. I'm not worried about it at all anymore. I used to have this feeling of dread when it came to putting the videos together. And now I just slap them together, and I don't have much worry about doing it anymore.
And I would say for those interested in going to another level, I would once again really recommend paying for some of the short courses that's available online on learning to use software. I know I purchased some basic and advanced videos related to Final Cut Pro 10. I purchased them for $60, and within those two packages, they provided the audio, the video, and the instructions. So I would recommend that you look into that, and also look on the website. Like I said, some of these programs have great tutorials available on their website.
Yep. And Sergio, I think what we should do is go through the Q&A questions and then switch over to the chat box and go through all those questions to make sure we don't miss anybody.
Absolutely. And yeah, and that was one of the questions in the Q&A, what was related to software.
Yeah,
so we've got that one.
Thoughts on GoPro cameras? My personal opinion of GoPro cameras is they're great for like doing live action video tours. Like if you wanted to like walk through a barn or walk through a field and show someone a really wide angle shot. Other than that, I'm not a big fan of them because they're such wide angle. They really distort the way people look and they keep everything in focus. I think they have their place, but I don't think it's a general purpose camera. I think it's what they call an action camera. So if you're wanting to capture some point of view action, I think they work really well.
And I agree. And one of the things that we tried to hit on in this presentation was really selecting your tool for the job. And for those of you that are beginning and looking into this and are really wanting to launch an extension program that's impactful, do the time beforehand, contact the resources that you may have at your university, contact Colt and myself, and also the vice chairs for teaching and educational technologies to get all the information before you. But it's going to be important to use the right tool for the job. So GoPro cameras, I have a couple, and that's in a GoPro Omni, which is for 360-degree video and pictures. And once again, like Colt said, it's a very broad, a wide lens camera, and I'm able to stitch all 6 GoPro cameras together in a cube to get 360-degree images and video. So, what it comes down to is, why are you using it? And also, what are the settings? What's the potential and the power of that camera related to depth of field, or the f-stop, the aperture setting, the shutter setting? and ultimately the ISO and the quality. So I would say get a camera for good quality, but once again, ask yourself, what's the purpose of the camera?
Excellent. Sergio, the next question is, what are some good sources for grants related to video stuff?
Absolutely. So, one of the first grants that I had were mini grants, SARE mini grants. And what this did was allowed me to get just basic funding to start a library. The strategy that I had is if I had a product with some grant funding, I'd be able to then demonstrate that I can actually produce video and then get larger funding from that. So once again, if you look into your mini SAREs, that's typically at the state level. Another one has to do with risk management. I know at Oklahoma State University, J.J. Jones, he may be on here, was able to do some great video production work. And I believe he had his, some of that funding came from the risk management, emergency risk management funding. So ERMI maybe. Other than that, I would say if you're looking at any type of extension, integrated grants with USDA NEFA, having video production and video production capacity can really put you at a better position for extension, and especially if you have it proven. So my recommendation, and what's worked for me, is demonstrating that I can create great peer review video, that I can demonstrate this is what I have and I'd like to take it to the next level. So I hope that helps.
Good job. So what microphones were recommended when you're recording in the field? And I'll go ahead and answer that one now. I use two different types of microphones. I use a shotgun microphone and I use a lapel mic. And for my Sony A7 III, my expensive camera, I use a Rode Video Pro Plus microphone. This thing is amazing. If you were gonna buy a DSLR or mirrorless camera setup, this would be the first microphone that I would want to buy. It will cut out wind noise and background noise like crazy. And I can send you a video clip I recorded of a local musician playing his guitar and singing, and it sounded studio quality when I posted it 4K on YouTube. On my Lidler camera, I have again just a less expensive Rode shotgun mic, and it's got this goofy looking windsock on it. You can take that off if you're not outside, but this also records very good video. The problem becomes is if you're too far away, or if there's a lot of stuff going on, like if it's just a talking head video, like if it's me talking in front of the camera and I don't want background noise, I don't want the ducks or the pigs, then I use these Sony lavalier mics, and these are about $550 for this set, so they're not cheap, but they work exceptionally well. The bad part is you can only do one person. I can't mic up two people with this, so that's a problem. If you hide the microphone part under your shirt, it will block out wind noise, so that works amazingly well. I know recently I've been doing some cooking videos to highlight some meat products for our producers. And I found that I mic'd the chef up with a lapel mic with one camera, and then I use the shotgun mic on the other camera so that I can get the sizzle of the meat or the sound of the knife cutting through vegetables. And then I combine those two audios on the final video, and it sounds amazing. And so that's what I use. And I've got a Excel sheet that we can send to everyone that lists out the model numbers and brands and prices for all this equipment that we highlighted today.
Absolutely. And as Colt pointed out, lavalier mics are great, the high quality. I typically plug them into an audio digital recorder. Now, on the Excel spreadsheet that we're going to send out, this is a Tascam DR40, Tascam DR40. And what I can do here is plug in the lavalier mic into different channels. Here's channel 1 and channel 2. And so if we have these wireless headphones, we can actually record multiple people in an audio digital recorder, and it improves the sound as well. So let's see, once again, we have folks asking for the Excel spreadsheet. So we'll be able to send that out or attach it to this video, this webinar somehow, right, Scott?
Yeah, I'll be able to send you a list with everybody's email address that was registered, and we'll figure out a way to get it to them.
Excellent. All right. Now, one of the questions Colt has to do, this is from Kevin Burkett at Clemson, asking about what microphone did you use or did you recommend for the A7, was it 3 camera?
Yeah, and that's the one I just showed you, the Rode Video Pro Plus and the Sony lavalier mics. I had actually, like 3 days ago, the news station came out to interview me for the local TV news, and they used these Sony lavalier mics to record audio. So that made me happy to know that that's what the pros are using.
Absolutely. So one of the questions has to do, how does it work to send someone else footage to edit and edit a video for you? Do you send footage, pics, voiceover files, and explain how you want it? Or ... That is a great question. And what I want to be clear about right now is every day it's getting more difficult to share multimedia over the internet because these files can be so large. And then also there's a lot of sharing software. It could be OneDrive, it could be Microsoft Teams, Google Drive, that can either prevent you from sharing that file or those files, or it'll decrease the quality of the files. And that's one thing that Colt and I had a difficult time doing initially, is that Box wouldn't allow Colt to upload any files, and then his OneDrive wasn't accessible to me. So it is a challenge. And what I would say is to find out a mechanism that works for you. And I think ultimately we shared, we put it online. I put on the Oregon State University server and allowed Colt to download it. So those are details that you're going to want to look into. Are you working and collaborating with someone beyond your university? And what are those challenges? Colt, do you have anything to add there?
Yeah, so if your university does not have a video people to help you, like at the University of Maine, we have the Center for Technology and Learning and stuff, but they only help teachers that teach classes on campus. When you tell them your extension, they're like, oh, we don't have time for you. So I had to learn how to do it all by myself, or you have to pay someone to do it. There are websites that are like Fiverr.com, where you can find people all over the world that will bid on making your videos for you. And a lot of times you can find folks that will do that kind of work fairly inexpensively if you have some money laying around and you don't want to fool with editing your video yourself. And then you would just, like the question says, you would send them your video clips and voiceover stuff and explain how you want it, and they'll make it happen. I do that with graphic design, but I've never had anybody make a video for me.
Now, for those of you that are creating video and want to move in that direction, what I do want to point out is that storyboarding is imperative. If you want to share or collaborate with a video professional, having your idea and having the final product in mind before you create it would really help that collaborative relationship. And what I'm going to do real quick is share my screen and identify what a storyboard looks like. So I storyboarded out my brief presentation, and on the left, what I have is the title, the product, the name, when I filmed it, the author, some comments, and then the purpose. I'll have my learning objectives or learning outcomes there. Now, as we move down the storyboard, on the left-hand side is what the individual will see on the screen, what you want them to see. That could be B-roll, that could be a slide, that could be an image. And when I say B-roll, I just mean footage that's going to support whatever you're saying. So on the right-hand side is the script, is the audio. And what I do is I write out exactly what I'm going to be saying on the right-hand side. I continue to move down. And on the left-hand side, I have what's going to be shown on the screen. Now, if you're working with a video professional, this is really going to be beneficial and helpful to really hone in what the final product is going to look like. If you're doing it on your own, I'd also recommend that you do it as well. Once again, it keeps you on script, it keeps you focused, and at the end of the day, it's going to minimize the editing, because you know what should be there. So I hope that helps out. The next one, Colt, is what do you recommend for storage of video footage and finished products?
This is a great question and something that I didn't touch on in my video, but these video files will quickly bog your computer down. So you need to store them on an external solid state hard drive, and those won't fail on you like the older hard drives will. And unfortunately, you can't edit video from an external hard drive or the SD card. The softwares will not edit the video unless it is on your computer. So you have to move the raw files from your camera to the computer to edit them. And then once you have it edited, then you need to save that to the external drive. And if you want to keep those clips in their raw format, save those to the external hard drive and then delete them off your computer. Because what you'll find if you're doing HD or 4K video, after you've edited 3 or 4 videos, your computer will be full and you won't be able to add anything else. Those video clips that you add in when they're HD or 4K are usually between 2 and 10 gigabytes each. And it takes up a ton of storage. And then, you always want backups of backups. So it's not a bad idea to have 2 external hard drives just for.
Absolutely. Now, what I really want to point out is before you begin, have a system in place, because if you're working, even if you're working alone or if you're working with collaborators, you're going to have a lot of files. And so it's going to be important to have a system with when you took that video and why you took that video. And as we're talking about, I save all my videos on solid state drives. Now this is a Samsung T7, Samsung portable solid state drive T7 Touch. And I have these are all 1 terabyte, and I fill them up. I have one project that's almost 200 gigabytes of video work. So that's how I store. I store all my videos on solid state drives, so that if I'm working from home or if I'm working at my workstation at the office, I can take that solid state drive with me and access those videos. So that's what I also do is, well, I recommend. Now, I briefly do want to touch on one of the bottlenecks that we have in extension. This is what I'm engaged in also and discussing at the national level with the Extension Foundation is there are limited sites to store videos, B-roll, in order to share with colleagues. Now it would be nice if you upload B-roll and then you could tag it with a specific a specific tag that could be alfalfa, irrigated alfalfa, or rangeland cattle, or pickling, or master gardeners working in the garden, right? Because you're going to get more and more media if you're going into video production, and you need to tag it to identify where, to put it somewhere so you can then retrieve it at a later time. So there's some software that could do that for you. I know at Oregon State University, we do have a communications team, but we don't have the ability to upload images because there's only a finite amount that can be uploaded. And so JotForm is a product that's out there that is like a library, something similar to Google Photos, where you can identify and upload photos or videos, and you can tag them and share them with collaborators. All right, tips for maximizing the capacity of cell phones, iPhone, for video production.
I think the biggie on using a cell phone is to get an external microphone that works with a cell phone. And once you get a good high quality, don't go buy the $30 one, because they usually suck just as bad as the built-in camera microphone. But like this will plug into my cell phone and work. But the problem is you don't have anywhere to mount it on a cell phone. So you need one of those cages that Sergio was talking about. And you can buy those. Those are inexpensive for a cell phone. And then you can mount the cell phone to a tripod with a microphone or a gimbal and a microphone. And then you have a pretty high quality video camera that's really capable. Newer iPhones, you can download applications and play with the aperture and shutter speeds and ISO. So you've got more capability to change the quality of the video there. But the biggie on a cell phone is the sensor size is this big compared to a full frame camera that's this big. So it's just, that's the biggest hurdle. But I think as long as you got a good microphone, you can do good video with a cell phone.
And what I do, my tip related to capacity, and this is a different angle, different perspective, has to do with how do I make sure that my cell phone doesn't get bogged down with such large files. I mean, I can go back and look at pictures from 2014 currently. And what I do is, if I am taking video with my cell phone, there is the option on the iPhone, and I'm sure all other smartphones, on increasing the resolution of your image of that video. And I actually increase it to 60 frames per second, or FPS. And I give it the, some phones have, was it 4K quality? And I only do that if I know that I am out using my cell phone to collect B-roll or to collect video footage. And whenever I return to the office or return to my home, I immediately download that information, download those videos to a specific folder where I know where that video is. And so I get the video and then I download it and then delete it from my cell phone or iPad to prevent accumulating or taking up too much storage. So once again, increase your camera to 60 frames per second. That'll allow you to get a better manipulate the motion for maybe like a slower motion, and increase the quality. And then you can always decrease it for your personal photos if you choose. So I hope that answers your question, Kate.
Just to expand on frames per second, all those old movies that you love that were shot on film, they were filmed at 24 frames per second. And then the more modern movies, like in the 90s or so, were filmed on 30 frames per second. And what that does is, like, if you were to wave your hand or sword fight or something, you would see some motion blur. But at 60 frames per second, though, there's not going to be any motion blur. It captures all the information because your eyeball sees at about 24 to 30 frames, I think 27 or 28 frames per second. So anything faster than that, it almost looks like things are slowed down a little bit, and it just captures a lot more information, and you don't miss little things here and there.
portable lighting. What are your thoughts on that, Colt?
If I am filming indoors, I use those umbrella lights. We've got a really cheap set here at the university that, I mean, they're cheap, but they work great. These fluorescent and LED lights that are in buildings, you'll come out looking yellow with shadows everywhere. So whenever I'm shooting indoors, I do use extra lights, and I set those up behind the camera. And you want to use some sort of diffuser. That's what those umbrella things are there for, because if you don't, you end up with this nasty looking light coming in, and it doesn't help anything. And you can get supplemental light for cheap on Amazon, or you can buy the really expensive stuff. I prefer the umbrella ones, because when I'm looking at the camera, I don't want to stare into the bright LED lights or the ring lights. So I like the ones that have the larger diffusers. Outside, I just use natural light and my understanding of the camera's exposure to get the correct lighting. I can adjust the aperture or the ISO to get the exposure correct outside.
Yeah, and whenever I'm outside, I really like to shoot early in the morning. I mean, sometimes, I've woken up at 5:15 in the morning to go out, to be out there for sunrise at 6 o'clock. There are some online tools. If you click the golden hour for photography and you put in your zip code, there's a nice window of time where colors just come out. It's called the golden hour. And what I also do is take into consideration shadows. And sometimes I'm just out at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And in order to minimize shadow, which might be one side of my face, I do have these reflecting, these reflectors. It's loading here in a second. These reflectors right here to try to minimize that, and to get the shadows off of the individual, or at least minimize it. So as you see here, there's nice $30 for this entire suite right here, collection.
And you can also buy filters that go over your lens that either work as sunglasses or light diffusers that you can overcome, harsh sunlight or shadows too.
Yeah, we did have a question about a stabilizer with the gimbal. And I think the question had to do with, I guess, do you have any thoughts, input on using that, Colt? And I know I'll have my piece, but I'll definitely value your insights here.
On using a gimbal. So here's my gimbal. This is a Ronin DJI SC2 or whatever. These are actually on sale right now for like $350. They were $500 or $600. So these have actually got electronic stabilizers in the gyroscope to get a nice smooth fluid. If you're recording B-roll in slow motion, you can just like walk through a field or walk past a cow or circle the cow, and it comes out looking like a movie. It's so smooth and pretty, especially if you've got it on slow motion. That really adds to the effects of the B-roll. And I think they're outstanding. And also, if you're going to be filming yourself, you can use it as a selfie stick, and it stabilizes the image too. And if you want to pan away from yourself and show the field or another person or an animal, it's got a toggle switch, and the motors will like turn the camera and rotate it and put it where you want it. So I think gimbals are underutilized in educational videos, and I think in the future we'll start seeing a lot more of the gimbal use.
All right, here's my take. Stabilizers with gimbals are incredible. Now, just like all tools, you need to know and have it a specific purpose on why you want to use it. So the larger the stabilizer with gimbal, the less, the more stable it'll be, the less shaky you'll be. Now I have what's called the Ronin M. I have a couple. I have the one that Galt has there. The Ronin was SC.
Mhm.
And the Ronin M is a two-handed gimbal. Now it doesn't let me put it down. It's robust, it's big, but I can be in a side-by-side going 30 miles an hour on a two-track road, going up and down, and I have minimal shake. Minimal shake, even though my head's bobbing up and down because we're going 35 miles an hour on a side-by-side. Now, the stabilizer, if it were smaller, let's say you have a cell phone camera in it, you're going to see that shake a little bit more. So the smaller the stabilizer with gimbal, the more shake you're going to have versus a larger, you're going to have that nice, you can do more shaking. And so also I would say, what is your threshold on technology? Are you willing to set it up for 15 minutes? To set up a Ronin M is going to take me about 20 minutes to set that up, put my camera in there. It is a monotonous process that people would pull their hair out if they want to get quickly to a stabilizer with a camera. Now, what I do is I work with collaborators across the state because I need more B-roll. I always need B-roll. There's never enough good quality B-roll. And so on a grant, I sent my colleagues a handheld gimbal for their cell phones so they can get more panning pictures. And so it's something that you can easily put a phone in. You can pan individuals working in a garden. You can pan it nicely, a group of kids playing outside, whatever it may be. It's easy to use. So what is your threshold for technology and willingness to set up? If it's not very, very high, consider these handheld gimbals like Colt highlighted. So that's my take on gimbals and stabilizers.
And do you have tools for writing a script ahead of time so that we know what we need to get footage of? And I'll be honest, I do everything in my head and I don't use a script because if I have a script, I'll trip over my own words. And there are times when I have to record a shot 2, maybe 3 times before I get it right. But I don't want to say that writing a script isn't a good thing. I wish I had the capability to do that.
And what I would say is also, if going into video production, I have some peer-reviewed videos, and we have a mechanism by which I would send a script. And let's see, so there aren't really tools. I'm not really sure what you mean by tools. Do you have tools for writing a script ahead of time? But it's really the process and putting the script in a Word document that others can review. And then once the reviewers send me back feedback, I'll adjust it and then put it into the storyboard that I showed you. And once again, on the right column on the storyboard is going to have the script, which I've taken out that my reviewers have commented on. And then on the left-hand side of the storyboard, I'll have exactly what footage we need. So before I go out and shoot, I know that I'll need footage of, let's just say, the learning objectives, or maybe it's a landscape panorama. So I hope that answers your question, but identify the video that you need before you go out and shoot. And if you can't get that video yourself, see if you can get it from your colleagues.
Excellent. And like I said, we'll be sending out that Excel sheet with all the prices and stuff. Do you have problems syncing any of the audio with the video files? And to answer that, I don't, because I keep my audio files with my video files. And when I go to sync up 2 different videos with separate audio, I line them up based on the sound wave format of those videos. And then I'll line those up and then I just play it sometimes you got to play with it a little bit to get them to sync. And then once they're synced, I will cut the front of those videos off and delete it. And then from that point out, those videos will always be in sync. That's how I do it. Sergio uses the external audio recorder, so he'll have a different answer.
Absolutely. And what I do with external audio recorders is I clap once my digital audio recorder with my lavalier mic is recording and my camera, which is separate, is recording. What I'll do is clap 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And I will align those clapping in software. I'll ultimately detach the original audio and then upload the higher quality audio from my audio digital recorder. Now, what I would say is to ensure that the frequency at which you're recording needs to be the same. I believe I record at 48 megahertz, and that needs to be pretty consistent. I did a recent project where I increased it to 96 and my audio was off. And after every minute, I had to adjust and blade my audio, splice it, and work with that, which is going to cost time. So get your settings right the first time. Accessing YouTube videos or how-to videos for your particular tool will be an incredible way for you to be efficient. But once you have it down, no, you really shouldn't have a difficult time removing poor quality audio and inputting high quality audio.
If you ever used an iPad as a video prompter, and I believe that's what you do, isn't it, Sergio? And I have taken a cheap 32-inch TV before and set it behind the camera and used that as a video prompter. You're muted, Sergio.
Here's my teleprompter right here. And this is was it Glide Gear. And what I have down here is an iPad. And my camera is in the back. And so we see the lens shooting through the camera right there in the middle. You might see a faint dot right there, but I have my teleprompter app and the iPad, which is sitting at the bottom, ultimately reflects in the glass, and I can just push play. And you all may or may not see, yep, you all see that it's actually going. So I believe these teleprompters can run anywhere between $150 to $500, $600. And they are also, I think I put that also on the Excel spreadsheet. So iPads are great for video teleprompters, and they are also great to have another perspective as far as video. You might have your DSLR camera out or whatever it may be, but I always like to put an iPad out to get some great video so I can just get a different angle whenever I'm filming someone.
Excellent. Is there any value in shooting video in 4K, knowing that most screen projectors and whatnot are only HD or lower? And I can give you 3 great reasons to shoot in 4K. One, in the future, your material is going to hold up. When everyone's screens do catch up to 4K, you'll be able to use your same videos. You might have to re-edit them, but your video will still be good. So you can use your video in the future. The second is, with 4K video, you can take screenshots of your video to create high resolution pictures. And third, you can crop a 4K video and like zoom in. So like right now, if you wanted to just like zoom in on my face, if you had 4K video, that image would still be high definition. But if you had a high definition video and you zoom in or crop it, then the resolution becomes blurrier. So yes, I do think 4K is worth shooting in. It is a pain in the ass though to keep up with those huge file sizes, I'll be honest with you.
Absolutely. And I do want to remind everybody that before we end, we'll continue to answer questions, but Scott's going to be sending an evaluation for you all to complete. And you will also have a link of this recording. And once again, Colt and I are willing to answer your questions if you don't mind sending them our way. Let's see, do you use outside graphics in your videos? And if so, where do you find them?
I have paid graphic artists in the past to make like cartoon characters of us to put in the videos to make them more exciting. I have a colleague that uses that I think they're called infotunes, which is kind of like animates cartoon type graphics, like, and those look really slick. The videos he makes using those are very slick. They look very professional. Other than that, I edit most of my stuff in PowerPoint, and then I just save the file as a JPEG, and then I can just move that picture into my video like I would a regular picture. Sergio, do you use graphics? I try not to use very many of them because it's a pain.
Yeah, you know, I also try not to use too many graphics. I do know that some of the software does have graphics and also music. That's one thing we haven't touched on thus far. Be sure that you have any music is royalty-free music that you're able to put in your video. Sometimes you need to provide credit where credit is due. But I would say some software programs like Camtasia and others may have some graphics associated with that. There are also graphics libraries that you can subscribe to, but I honestly don't do too many graphics or buy any graphics.
And one thing about music, and we didn't put any background music in our, well, we did at the beginning and ending of the clips, but let's say you're somewhere that's got like a lot of traffic noise or wind or fans blowing in the background and it's distracting. You can put some background music on that and turn it down real low, and it'll actually drown out a lot of that background noise and become more pleasant to listen to than just listening to like kind of stuff, I found.
Yeah, another question that we haven't got to has to do with whether we shoot in short clips and splice, or do you do a full shoot and then edit?
I do short clips because I constantly want to change up the angle of the video so it's not boring. But I'm trying to mimic YouTube bloggers, not traditional educational format.
And this is from Darby Allday at Tennessee State University with important 4-H. And I would say, Darby, I guess my preference, typically I go for a different style sometimes, and that's more, well, yeah, I would say I do more, I'll try to shoot all at once to have one long clip, which I can then splice out later on and divide. So it really depends on, I guess, your style, and there's not a wrong way to do it. I just like having everything, and I'll sync my audio and video ideally to one large clip, and then I'll splice and move it and maybe create different projects from that. All right, and we'll definitely share the storyboard and the example of that. Let me just highlight it one more time. I think that's another one of our questions right here. Once again, it's having the end in mind, having the final product in mind. If that is your angle, if that's your perspective, and you want to go that way, it's a great way to do that, having those learning objectives. And before I put the audio, this would be the script on the right-hand side. If I'm going for a peer review video, I would just type this up in a Word document and send it to reviewers in a Word document. And then once I get back that feedback, I would then copy and paste what I have in that script. And on the left-hand side, that's just kind of the, the slide or the portion of the video. And on the right-hand side is exactly what I'm saying in the film. Well, I think we've hit all the questions, Colt.
Have we answered anything? Does anyone else have any questions?
Video production is about $95 an hour if you want to go to a professional. You know, I'd probably broaden that to about $75 to $95 per hour. Now, I would say find a model. For some individuals, they're not going to sit and do 120 hours in software programs that are quite advanced. Others may do that. So find out what works for you. And if you're not that type of person, if you're maybe the content expert that has, you know, a lot of experience, or you're very comfortable in front of a camera, you could probably be that individual and consider working with someone else who has the video production ability, patience, time, detail, and kind of find that team that works for you. Make sure it's fun. Make sure you enjoy doing this together, and you can really generate just a lot of content and funds for great non-credit instruction.
And I'm going to share my screen, Sergio, just to show folks what my edited video looks like. So you can see here on the left, I have my video bank where I bring all my clips in. And then you can see the timeline down here on the bottom where I can add in all my clips. I stack my clips and audio and background music. And if I want to add transitions from, you know, one cut to the next, I can do that. I will caution you, most of the time you don't need any transition animation. Sometimes it adds a lot, sometimes it doesn't. I like to use the basic ones, kind of like on PowerPoint, you know, appear, disappear, something that looks like just the page is turning, or it just kind of fades in from one to the next. You don't want to use crazy stuff like spiral in and out or checkerboard or that kind of stuff. But you can see down here when I'm editing the video, I can change the volume levels of the background music, or I can change the volume levels of the speaker. I can do picture in picture, and we can fade out to our ending slide. And then I like to put in blooper reels at the ends of mine, just so that people get a little humor.
All right, so let's jump in and talk about setting up.
And but you know, this is a pretty complex edit that I have going here. You can see all the cuts and stacking that I've done, but the final product came out really good.
Excellent. And one of the things, Colt, is we can provide them links to our video pages or any products that we have as well.
Yeah, I'd be happy to send some links.
Absolutely.
We came in 13 minutes short.
Hey. Excellent. Well, we are glad to be resources for you all. The Teaching and Educational Technologies Committee did do a video production super seminar in 2019, and it was well attended. And so continue to ask us, questions and send them our way. And we hope we can continue to be a great resource for all of our NACAA members related to video production. So thank you all for joining us.
Yep. Appreciate y'all listening.